Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague, Mr. Duncan. I thank the chair, Ms. McMorris-Rogers, and I appreciate the leadership of Gary Palmer on this particular legislation, H.R. 1023, the Cutting Green Corruption and Taxes Act. You know, as we sit here and listen to this debate, it's been pretty amusing. The reason we're here is because the American public is sick and tired of the games. The veil has been lifted. They know the facts. Affordability and reliability are the most important things. And we'll get to the facts about the actual emissions that have been cut. But let's just start with the fact that this natural gas tax is unworkable. It was included despite never being considered, never being talked about with stakeholders in places like the Permian Basin, where I represent. There was never expert testimony that talked about how to work this in. You know, instead of looking at emissions holistically, the natural gas tax was based on the single premise that if reliable energy is taxed, less of it will be produced. Ask the American public if they're for that. You know, especially as the EPA rolls out proposed rules to implement the natural gas tax, it is clear that we have to take action. There are dozens of rules that they're rolling out. When you talk to the directors of the EPA, when they have come before Congress this year, they don't even know how they're going to implement this. They haven't talked to stakeholders. Why have they not been to the Permian Basin? Not a single person from the EPA has come to the largest producing area to see what we're doing, to see that in the last 12 to 15 years that we have increased production by 300 or 400% from 1 million barrels a day to over 5 million barrels. And, oh, by the way, we've reduced methane intensity by over 70%. Why can't Administrator Regan or Director Nance or Mr. Goffman come to the Permian Basin and see what we've done? Not because the government has told them to do it, because it makes economic sense, because they're doing it from a business sense. That's what you're not going to hear from my colleagues on the left. They're being driven from a radical environmental activist position that doesn't represent what the country wants or needs. You know, I was pleased to host Speaker Johnson in Midland, Texas this week to kick off Energy Week. And the speaker had the chance to meet with industry experts, people that know this business, people that have cut the emissions, people who do care about providing affordable, reliable energy, as well as reducing harmful emissions. They've been doing it. They've been doing it for years. It makes sense that Congress would come together and talk about reducing harmful emissions in a meaningful way. Not a single industry expert has come to Congress and said that they want methane intensity to increase. But what they don't want or need is a new tax. What they don't want or need is to assault the industry that literally won World War II for us, that has provided our partners and allies the needs that they have because they aren't blessed with the resources that we are. If this is implemented, the ill-conceived natural gas tax will handicap technological innovation. It will reduce the supply of affordable energy in this country and for our partners and allies, and it will increase not only cost but emissions. In fact, this tax alone will drive up the cost of household energy for 180 million Americans and over 5.5 million businesses that rely on natural gas tax. The underpinnings of our national security depend on us making smart decisions, producing the energy here domestically, and not giving Vladimir Putin, the Iranians, or other nefarious actors a win. I urge support for American energy. I urge support for domestic production, and I urge support for H.R. 1023, and I yield back.